A $2 bill. That's what they handed me at the company Christmas gala. $2. Not even crisp. The thing looked like it had been pulled from someone's junk drawer, wrinkled and faded, probably older than my marriage. Then my sister-in-law Chloe tossed a folded shirt into my chest. I caught it reflexively, and when I shook it open, the room erupted. White cotton, black letters, now jobless. Laughter rolled through the ballroom like thunder. Champagne glasses clinked. Someone's phone camera flashed. My wife Madison stood 10 feet away, hand pressed to her mouth, shoulders shaking. Not from horror, from laughter. Her sister Chloe had just been handed keys to a $65,000 BMW and announced as the new director of operations. She was 28. She'd been with Grant Industries for 3 years. I'd been there for 7, working internal audits, catching compliance gaps, saving the company $250,000 in penalties last year alone. I got $2 and a novelty shirt. Before we go any further, take a second to subscribe, hit the hype button, and like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? Richard Grant, my father-in-law and CEO, stood at the microphone with that shark smile he wore when he thought he was being clever. Mike's been a good sport about the restructuring, he announced. We wanted to give him something memorable. More laughter. Madison wiped tears from her eyes. Not sad tears. The other kind. I folded the shirt carefully, slipped the $2 bill into my wallet, looked at Richard, then at Madison, then at the 200 people who thought humiliating me was entertainment. I walked out. No scene, no speech. Just walked. My phone was already in my hand when I hit the parking lot. One email, pre-written, ready to send. I drafted it 3 weeks ago when I first noticed the discrepancies in the bonus allocation reports, when I realized what Richard was really doing with company funds, when I understood that my position wasn't being restructured for efficiency. It was being eliminated because I knew too much. Subject line, turn on the news. Body, 1 sentence and a link. I hit send. Then I drove home, poured myself a drink, and waited. The call came 18 minutes later. Madison, screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. What did you do? What the hell did you do? I took a sip of bourbon. Smooth, expensive. A gift from Richard last Christmas, back when he still pretended to respect me. I showed them what their legacy really looks like, I said. She was still screaming when I hung up. The story had gone live on 3 local news sites simultaneously. Financial journalists loved a good corporate scandal, especially when someone handed them fully documented evidence. Richard's creative bonus structure, the one that paid executive family members triple the industry standard while cutting benefits for hourly workers. The offshore consulting fees that somehow always went to companies Richard's brother owned. Nothing illegal, technically, just spectacularly ugly when displayed in bar graphs and pie charts. I'd worked those numbers for months. As an internal auditor, I had access. Everything I used was legitimate company data I'd handled as part of my job. No hacking, no theft, just a man who knew where to look and who to talk to. The second call came from Richard himself. You've made a serious mistake, Mike. Have I? You think you can embarrass this family and walk away? I think I just did. You signed an NDA. I shared internal audit findings with financial journalists investigating corporate governance. That's not a breach. That's compliance. Check with your lawyers, Richard. I already did. Silence on the line. Then, you're done in this town. Probably, but you're done in 3 towns, and counting. I hung up again. Madison came through the door an hour later, face flushed, eyes wild. She still wore the silver dress from the party, the one that cost more than my monthly salary used to be. You humiliated my father, my entire family. Funny, I said. I was just thinking the same thing about what happened to me tonight. That was a joke, Mike. A harmless joke. $2 and a termination notice printed on a shirt. Real hilarious. She threw her clutch purse onto the couch. You're acting like a child. I'm acting like someone who just realized his wife thinks he's worthless. I never said that. You didn't have to. You laughed, Maddie. You laughed harder than anyone. She opened her mouth, closed it. For just a second, something flickered across her face. Guilt, maybe, or calculation. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her expression shifted. Not guilt anymore. Something else. Something guarded. I need space, she said. Space. Yes, space, to think. This is too much. She grabbed the clutch and walked toward the bedroom. I heard drawers opening, closing. The sound of a suitcase zipper. Where are you going? My parents' house. I can't be here right now. She left 10 minutes later, rolling a small suitcase behind her. Didn't look back. I sat on the couch and opened my phone. Checked the joint bank account we'd set up when we got married. The one we used for shared expenses, vacations, big purchases. There it was. A withdrawal from 3 days ago. $4,200, labeled, travel, booking confirmation. I hadn't booked any travel. I opened the email linked to the account, scrolled through recent confirmations, found it buried in a folder I never checked. Emerald Seas Cruise Line, 2 passengers, premium balcony suite, departure date, December 28th, 5 days from now. Passenger 1, Madison Grant Harlow. Passenger 2, Brian Keaton. I read the name 3 times. Brian Keaton. Maddie's college boyfriend. The guy she'd dated before me. The one she swore was ancient history. Hadn't thought about him in years, she'd said. Totally over it. I clicked through more emails, found the flight confirmations, found the hotel reservation for the night before the cruise, found the dinner reservation at some waterfront place in Miami. 2 people. Romantic seating. My wife had booked a vacation with another man using our joint account. She didn't even bother hiding it well. Just assumed I'd never look. I sat there for a long time, staring at the screen, thinking about the laugh, the shirt, the $2 bill, the way she'd looked at me like I was furniture. Then I made another call. Hey, Steve? Yeah, I know it's late. Listen, I need a favor. That friend of yours who works at the airport? The one in passenger services? Think he owes you enough to make a call? The airport was crowded. Day after Christmas travel rush, everyone heading somewhere warm or heading home from somewhere warm. I stood near the security checkpoint with a coffee I wasn't drinking, watching the departure board. Flight 447 to Miami. Boarding at gate C7, 30 minutes. I spotted them before they spotted me. Madison wore oversized sunglasses and a white sweater that probably cost more than the cruise. Brian Keaton walked beside her, pulling 2 matched suitcases, grinning like he'd won something. He looked exactly like his social media photos. Tall, gym-toned, hair styled with too much product. He worked marketing for Red Harbor Bites, a mid-tier restaurant chain that thought it was the next Chipotle. His LinkedIn bragged about brand synergy and consumer engagement. His Instagram was all mirror selfies and motivational quotes. I waited until they were 15 feet from security. Then I stepped into their path. Madison saw me first. She froze. The sunglasses hid her eyes, but her mouth opened slightly. Brian looked confused for exactly 2 seconds. Then he recognized me from the wedding photos still posted in our house. His grin widened. "Mike," Madison said. Her voice was flat. "What are you doing here?" "Saying goodbye. Thought I'd see you off." Brian extended his hand. Actually extended his hand, like we were meeting at a networking event. "Brian Keaton, good to finally meet you, man." I looked at his hand, looked at him, didn't move. He withdrew it slowly, grin faltering. "This is inappropriate," Madison said. She glanced around, checking who might be watching. Always worried about appearances. "What's inappropriate?" I asked. "A husband seeing his wife off on vacation?" Mike. "Or is it inappropriate that you booked a romantic cruise with your ex-boyfriend using our joint bank account?" Brian's grin disappeared completely. You weren't supposed to find out like this, Madison said quietly. How was I supposed to find out? I was going to tell you, after, when I got back, when I'd figured things out. Figured what out? She took a breath. Whether I still want to be married. The words landed like stones, flat, matter of fact, like she was discussing a subscription she might cancel. Brian shifted his weight. Look, man, this isn't personal. I turned to him. It's not personal. It's just, sometimes people grow apart. It happens. And you just happened to be there. Madison and I have history. Real history. We reconnected at a marketing conference in September, and it was like no time had passed. Sometimes the universe puts people back together for a reason. The universe. Yeah. I nodded slowly. What's your job title again, Brian? He blinked. What? Your job. At Red Harbor. What do you do? I'm a marketing manager. Why? You manage the brand campaigns? Some of them. What does this have to do with anything? Just curious. Must be a big job. Lots of responsibility. Madison grabbed Brian's arm. We're going to miss our flight. You're not going to miss it, I said. I'm not stopping you. Go ahead, have a great time. Enjoy the balcony suite. Brian picked up the suitcase handles. Started to move past me. I stepped aside. Let them go. They made it 5 steps before I called out. Hey, Brian. He turned. I walked up to him, close, inside his personal space. He was taller than me by 2 inches, but he stepped back anyway. That comment about the universe? I said quietly. Here's the thing about the universe. Sometimes it doesn't put people together. Sometimes it just watches while they wreck themselves. Are you threatening me? Madison moved between us. Mike, stop. I'm not threatening anyone, I said. I'm just making an observation. See, you think this is about you winning something, taking my wife, proving you're better than me. But you don't actually know what you've won, do you? I know exactly what I've won, Brian said. He put his arm around Madison's shoulders, possessive, marking territory. Do you? You know she laughed at me getting fired. You know she spent 7 years treating me like I was lucky just to be in her family's orbit. You know she books trips on joint accounts and doesn't even bother hiding it, and you think that's a prize. She deserves better than you. Maybe, or maybe she deserves exactly what she's getting. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my wallet, extracted the $2 bill from last night. Here, I said. I held it out to Brian. He stared at it. What is this? A gift. From me to you. Congratulations on your upgrade. You're insane? Maybe, but I'm not the one dating a married woman and bragging about the universe. He took the $2 bill, crumpled it, threw it at my feet. We're done here, he said. That's when I moved. Not a big motion, nothing dramatic. Just a short, sharp movement of my right hand, open palm, connected with his face just below the cheekbone. Not enough to hurt him badly. Enough to shock him. Enough to turn his head. Enough to make a sound that carried. The slap echoed through the terminal. Brian stumbled backward into Madison. His hand went to his face. His eyes went wide. You hit me, he said, like he couldn't believe it. No, I said. I gave you a preview. Security was already moving toward us, 2 officers, hands on their belts. I raised both hands. I'm leaving. No trouble. Just saying goodbye to my wife. Madison's face was white. Mike, what is wrong with you? Nothing's wrong with me, Maddie. I'm just done being the punchline. The security officers reached us. One of them stepped between me and Brian. Sir, is there a problem here? Brian touched his face. It was red, probably stinging. He looked at Madison, looked at me, looked at the growing crowd of travelers watching with their phones out. No problem, he muttered. No problem. Sir? The officer looked at me. I'm leaving. Have a good day, officer. I walked away. Didn't run. Didn't look back. Just walked through the terminal and out to the parking garage and sat in my car for 10 minutes, hands shaking, heart hammering. Then I drove home. The video was online before I got there. Someone had filmed the whole thing. 28 seconds of me confronting them, the slap, Brian's shocked face. It wasn't on major news sites yet. Just Twitter, just TikTok, just Reddit threads where people were trying to figure out who we were. But it was spreading. By midnight, someone had identified Madison, Grant Industries. The Christmas party story from yesterday. Now this. The narrative was building itself. I didn't sleep that night. Just sat at my laptop, watching the story grow, watching the comments, watching people pick sides. Some called me unstable, some called me a hero, some said both. I didn't care about either. I cared about what came next. The lawsuit notice arrived 2 days later. Cease and desist. Defamation, harassment, emotional distress. Richard Grant's lawyers used a lot of words to say I needed to shut up or face consequences. I read it twice. Then I called my own lawyer. Her name was Patricia Vance. She'd handled my mother's estate 3 years ago, and she didn't intimidate easily. "They're bluffing," she said after reviewing the notice. "Nothing you did violates any legal standard. The financial information was accurate and legally obtained. The airport incident was witnessed by dozens of people, and you didn't actually assault anyone by legal definition. This is intimidation. Will it work? Depends. How far are you willing to go?" I thought about the $2 bill, the shirt, the laughter. Madison's face when she said she was figuring out whether she still wanted to be married. "All the way," I said. "Then we ignore them, and we prepare for escalation." The escalation came fast. Grant Industries revoked my building access, sent an email to all staff warning about unauthorized persons on company property. My work email was deactivated. My company laptop remotely wiped. Chloe posted on Instagram about family loyalty and weathering storms. The comments were full of support for her, for the Grants, for Madison. Brian posted a quote, "Sometimes the trash takes itself out." 43 people liked it. Then the PR campaign started. Anonymous sources told local business reporters that I'd been unstable for months, that I'd made threats, that Madison feared for her safety, that the airport incident was part of a pattern. I watched my reputation disassemble in real time. My phone rang less. People I'd worked with stopped returning messages. A former colleague I'd considered a friend crossed the street to avoid me. Richard was methodical, strategic. This wasn't just revenge. This was erasure. I let it happen. For a week, I let it happen. Then I made a few calls of my own. The first went to Alex Chen. No, different Alex. Alex Morrison, financial journalist who'd broken the original Grant Industries story. She'd been digging deeper, she told me, found more irregularities, wanted to do a follow-up. "They're saying you fabricated evidence," she said. "I didn't." "Can you prove that?" "Every document I provided came from their own systems, time-stamped, logged, traceable. I kept copies of the access logs. If they're claiming fabrication, they're admitting their own records are false." Silence on the line. Then, "Can I see those logs?" "Already sent them." The second call went to an investment analyst named Tom Brennan. He covered mid-sized regional companies for a financial newsletter. Grant Industries wasn't public, but Richard had been courting investors for a potential expansion. Tom had questions about financial stability. "Word is they're bleeding executive talent," Tom said. 3 directors quit in the last 6 months. Now this audit scandal. Investors don't like instability. "You should check their supplier contracts," I said, "specifically the ones with Lakeside Logistics." "What about them?" "Lakeside is owned by Richard's brother. They've been getting exclusive contracts for 5 years, above market rates. Nobody's ever audited whether those services are actually being provided." "Are you saying they're not?" "I'm saying it's worth checking." The third call was different. I called the corporate headquarters of Red Harbor Bites, asked for investor relations, spent 15 minutes explaining who I was, and what I wanted to discuss. They transferred me twice before I got someone with authority. Mr. Harlow, I'm not sure why you're calling us about an employee's personal life. It's not about his personal life, I said. It's about your marketing budget, specifically the regional expansion campaign Brian Keaton is managing. What about it? How much autonomy does he have over vendor selection? Pause. That's internal operational information. I'm asking because I used to work in internal auditing, and one thing I learned is that when someone has sole authority over vendor contracts and budget allocation, it creates opportunities, especially if that person values appearance over substance. Are you making an accusation? I'm suggesting you audit the campaign expenses. Compare the contracts Brian approved to the actual deliverables. Check if the vendors he selected are giving you competitive rates. Check if they're even legitimate companies. Another pause. Longer this time. Why would you bring this to us? Because Brian Keaton thinks he's untouchable. I want to prove he's not. I hung up before they could ask more questions. Then I waited. The explosion happened on a Tuesday. Grant Industries' potential investors pulled out. Tom Brennan's newsletter published a detailed breakdown of the Lakeside Logistics contracts. 42% of the services billed had no corresponding delivery records. Richard's brother couldn't explain the discrepancy. The board called an emergency meeting. Alex Morrison published her follow-up story. Grant Industries, a pattern of preferential treatment and financial opacity. It included the access logs I'd provided, documentation that every piece of data in the original story came directly from company records I'd been authorized to review. The anonymous smear campaign against me evaporated. Hard to call someone unstable when their evidence keeps proving accurate. But the most satisfying explosion came from Red Harbor Bites. They launched an internal review of Brian's marketing campaign, found that 3 of his primary vendors were shell companies with no track record, found that the contracts paid above market rates for below-market services, found that Brian had approved it all with minimal oversight. The regional expansion campaign was suspended pending investigation. Brian's name disappeared from the company website. He called me once, late at night, 2 a.m. You destroyed my career. No, I said. I just suggested someone check your work. If your work was solid, there'd be nothing to find. I'm going to sue you. For what? I didn't touch your contracts. I didn't forge anything. I just asked questions. If those questions led somewhere bad, that's on you. This isn't over. Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet. He hung up. Madison called the next morning. Her voice was small, tired. Brian says you sabotaged him. Brian made his own choices. I just made sure someone was watching. You're ruining lives, Mike. Interesting perspective from someone who booked a vacation with her ex-boyfriend using joint funds. Silence. I want a divorce, she said finally. Okay. Okay? Yeah, okay. I'll have my lawyer send the paperwork. That's it? No fight? What's there to fight for, Maddie? You laughed at me. You cheated on me. You treated me like garbage for years. Why would I fight to keep that? I didn't cheat. Brian and I haven't been intimate. You booked a couples cruise. You were leaving in 3 days. Maybe it hadn't happened yet, but it was going to. Don't insult me by pretending otherwise. More silence. My family will make sure you get nothing, she said. Your family is about to be very busy with their own problems. But sure, let them try. She hung up. 2 days later, Chloe's BMW ended up in a ditch. I didn't cause it, not directly. But I was there when it happened. The road outside town follows the river for 3 miles before cutting through state forest. 2 lanes, winding, mostly empty after dark. I'd been driving it every evening that week, thinking, planning, watching the landscape. Chloe's BMW appeared in my rearview mirror around 8, bright headlights, moving fast. She pulled up close behind me, too close, tailgating. Then Brian's car appeared next to her, a leased Audi sedan, also too close. They were boxing me in. I kept my speed steady, signaled, pulled toward the shoulder like I was letting them pass. Chloe accelerated, pulled alongside. Her window came down. "Pull over," she shouted. I kept driving. Brian pulled ahead, tapped his brakes, trying to slow me down, force me to stop. Standard intimidation, 2 cars, 1 target. Make him feel trapped. Problem was, I'd driven these roads for years. I knew every curve, every turnoff, and they didn't. The sharp left bend came up fast, tighter than it looked. Posted speed was 35. Chloe was doing 55. I took the turn smooth, weight balanced, tires gripping. Chloe tried to follow. The BMW's rear end slid. She overcorrected. The car fishtailed. Then the right side tires left the pavement, and the whole vehicle tilted into the shallow ditch beside the road. Not a serious crash, more of a slide. The ditch was muddy from recent rain. The BMW settled at a 20-degree angle, headlights pointing at the trees. I could see Chloe through the windshield, mouth open, hands on the wheel, shocked but unhurt. Brian's Audi screeched to a stop ahead of me. He jumped out, started running back toward the BMW. I stopped my car in the middle of the road, got out, walked over. Chloe was climbing out of the BMW when I arrived. Her door was stuck. She had to shove it open against the angle. Mud on her shoes, dress torn at the hem. "You ran me off the road!" she screamed. "I took the turn. You couldn't follow. You caused this." "No, Chloe, your aggressive driving caused this. I've got dashcam footage showing you tailgating me for half a mile and trying to box me in." Her face went white. "You're recording?" "Always. You think I wouldn't document harassment?" Brian reached us. He looked at the BMW, at Chloe, at me. "You're going to pay for this." "Am I? Because from where I'm standing, you two tried to intimidate someone, lost control of your vehicle, and crashed. That's not my liability. That's yours. The police will hear about this." "Great. Call them. I'll show them the footage. We'll see who they think is at fault." Chloe pulled out her phone, started recording. "You're threatening us. Everyone's going to see this." I looked directly at the camera, spoke clearly. "I'm not threatening anyone. I'm standing on a public road observing an accident caused by reckless driving. If you two have something to say to me, say it. Otherwise, call a tow truck and go home." "This isn't over," Brian said. "You keep saying that, but every time you try something, it gets worse for you. Maybe consider a new strategy." Someone else's car approached, slowed down. A woman in her 60s rolled down her window. "Is everyone okay? Should I call the police?" "Please do," I said. "There's been an accident. No injuries, but they'll need a report for insurance." The woman nodded, pulled over, got on her phone. Chloe looked at Brian, at her stuck BMW, at the approaching headlights of another car slowing to see what was happening. "Let's go," she muttered. "What about your car?" "Leave it. I'll call a tow company." They walked to Brian's Audi, got in, drove away without looking back. I waited for the police, gave my statement, showed the dashcam footage. The officer watched it twice. "They were definitely following you aggressively," he said. "Yes, sir." "You know these people?" "My estranged wife's family." He nodded. Understood immediately. Domestic situations got complicated. "You want to press charges for harassment?" "Not today. Just wanted it documented." He wrote up the report, gave me a case number, left. I drove home. The video of Chloe's BMW in the ditch was online within an hour. Not from me. From the elderly woman who'd stopped. She'd filmed it on her phone, posted it to Facebook with commentary about aggressive drivers. Someone else had filmed Brian and Chloe driving away, leaving the car behind. The story built itself. Grant family's holiday gift BMW crashes during apparent road rage incident. Family members flee scene, investigation pending. Richard called at midnight. "You're destroying my family." "No, Richard, your family is destroying itself. I'm just refusing to be destroyed with it." "What do you want? Money?" "I don't want anything from you." "Everyone wants something." "Not from you. Not anymore." "Then what's the end game here, Mike? You've made your point. You've embarrassed us. damaged our reputation. What else is there? I want you to feel it. Feel what? What you made me feel. Small, worthless, invisible. I want you to know what it's like when the world watches you fall apart. You're talking about revenge. I'm talking about consequences. If you don't stop, there will be consequences for you. Bring them. Because everything I've done has been legal, documented, justified. You can't fight me the way you fought everyone else. I'm not afraid of your lawyers, or your reputation, or your money. I'm the guy you forgot was watching, and I saw everything. I hung up on him for the third time. It felt good every single time. The board forced Richard to step down as CEO 2 weeks later. Temporary leave while they investigated. Chloe's promotion was suspended. Madison moved out of the family house and into a downtown apartment. Alone. Brian disappeared from social media entirely, and I started planning the final move. The warehouse sat on the industrial edge of town, old manufacturing district. Half the buildings were abandoned. The other half were rented by contractors and storage companies. Brian's car sat in one of the open bays. The Audi, polished, expensive-looking, his pride and joy, according to his Instagram posts. He'd spent months customizing it. New rims, upgraded sound system, leather interior. I'd found the location through public records. Red Harbor Bites had leased the space for promotional material storage. Brian had access. He'd been using it as a personal garage. The building manager owed me a favor from years ago when I'd helped him untangle a tax problem. He gave me a key. I walked into the warehouse at 9 p.m. on a Friday. Quiet, empty. Just me and Brian's car. I'd brought tools, basic mechanics kit. I'd learned car repair from my father. Summers in Milwaukee, working in his garage. He'd taught me how to disassemble an engine, how everything fit together, and how to take it apart. I started with the rims, removed all 4, stacked them carefully against the wall, then the doors, unbolted the hinges, lifted them free, hood next, popped the latch, unscrewed the supports, set it aside. The engine took longer, had to disconnect hoses, remove belts, unbolt mounts. But I had time. 3 hours later, the Audi sat on blocks. No wheels, no doors, hood gone, engine partially disassembled, interior seats removed and stacked, steering wheel off, not destroyed, disassembled, everything salvageable, everything repairable, just completely, utterly taken apart. I heard the door open behind me, turned. Madison stood there, then Richard, then Brian. They stared at the car, at me, at the pieces scattered across the warehouse floor. "You broke into private property," Richard said. "I had permission from the building manager. This is destruction of property. It's disassembly. Everything's intact. Just needs to be put back together." Brian moved forward. His face was red, fists clenched. "That's my car. I know. You can't just take apart someone's car." "Funny. You thought you could just take apart someone's marriage." He swung at me. I saw it coming, stepped aside, let his momentum carry him past. He stumbled, caught himself, turned. Richard stepped between us. "This ends now." "It already has," I said. I reached into my pocket, pulled out 2 items, the $2 bill, still wrinkled, still faded, and the folded white shirt. I walked to Brian's disassembled car, set both items on the exposed hood frame. Brian stared at them. "What is this?" "These are yours now," I said. "Congratulations. You won. You got the girl. You got everything you wanted." I looked at Madison, then back at Brian. "Winning doesn't mean what you think it means. You took my wife. Have her. But what you actually took was someone who laughs at humiliation, who cheats using joint bank accounts, who picks appearance over substance every single time." "Shut up," Madison whispered. "You shut me up for 7 years. I'm done being quiet." Richard moved forward. "We're leaving, all of us." "Good idea," I said. I picked up my toolbox, walked toward the door, stopped at the threshold, looked back one last time. Brian stood frozen beside the skeletal remains of his precious Audi. Madison's face was pale. Richard's expression showed something I'd never seen before: fear. I smiled. "Now you drive away," I said, and I walked out into the night.